Guys, we're here today with a very special guest, John Temerian from the legendary Curated showroom slash dealership, one of the greatest places and destinations in America for supercars. How you doing, John?
Good, brother. How are you?
Good to finally see you in the Mecca.
It's an honor to be here.
Pleasure to have you, man.
Listen, I mean, honestly, my head is like, it feels like I just had like 10 shots of coffee. Like, this is insane, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a risk. So we said, hey, should we show them everything first before
this
we do the
is,
interview, or should we do the interview first? But we're glad we're kind of hopefully expanded your mind a little bit now.
So John was one of the earliest people following the brand, following our personal pages before Patina was even launched. And he was, he's someone that has his hand on the pulse of the culture, especially when it comes to cars, and he knows what's going on. He's one of the people that I was watching in Canada before I came to Florida. He was doing it major on the YouTube channel and digging into the history with a lot of passion into Lamborghinis and other supercars, Ferraris from the era, from the 1980s, from the Miami Vice era, but also AMGs. So always followed what you've been doing.
Thank you, bro.
We love that you've been following what we've been doing.
Thank you, bro. I've been following you guys from day, but I was actually following your music.
Great.
And I was actually shocked. I was like, wow, this is really good. I was like, this is incredible.
Thank you, man.
And that's one of the ways I first started following you, because I was like, wow, there were some songs about cars that I love and different, like at the time, think about it, 10 years ago, 8 years ago,
yes,
like people didn't look at these cars the same way. I mean, when I first started, I had collectors and people tell me I was crazy. They're like, why do you want those?
Why are you spending $30,000 on an AMG or what it was? Yeah. And there's not a lot of rappers who are either making very specific music where he's like talking about certain parts, certain features of the car. So when I first met Vico, dude, that's what stuck in my head. This guy, his thoroughness of the AMG gang comes through in the lyrics of the songs, which is crazy.
And I think looking at what you guys have done and looking at what we've done, we've pushed the culture and we've pushed something that inspired us and inspired a lot of people.
We hope so.
And it's funny because now I think I had a very good friend. He's not a big car guy. His actually wife is a massive influencer. She's like 10 million followers, super famous chick. And he was like, bro, I don't think you realize how influential 80s and 90s cars are today in the mass market.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's like, I don't think it's going to stop because there's so many people that were inspired by these cars when they were young. So,
exactly.
Speaking of being inspired by cars when young, Vico, I know you had a couple questions maybe about his life growing up down here.
Me and Daniel grew up, I grew up in Canada. He grew up in New Jersey, New York.
Yep.
And, I seen some cool cars growing up, but we had the winter time and, the guys would pull out their cars. You'd see some cars here and there. I saw some of my uncles have, Mercedes that weren't too rare, but, that put the seed in my mind.
Yes.
But you grew up in Miami. And you grew up in the 90s, correct? In Miami?
Yes.
So this is fresh off, the cocaine era.
Yes.
And your father wasn't just a regular Joe. He had a Miura, a Lamborghini Miura. So tell us about your life, if you don't mind, growing up.
Of course.
Your father and how it was growing up in Miami in that era.
Dude, so it was, like I always tell people, I have the most incredible experiences growing up. My dad was, to me, the greatest mechanic for Lamborghinis of that period. But not just Lamborghinis, all the wacky supercars in South Florida at that time. And at one point, you'd go to his shop and there'd be 2 Gemballa Avalanches.
Nice, that's sick.
He actually used to service one of the Koenig Testarossas. So all of these crazy cars. I grew up, I think, super special because my dad, as a kid, I resented him because he was very tough. Very, very tough.
He's busy and he was tough.
Yes.
That's always hard,
And, he worked 7 days a week. God bless him. He's a workaholic. And when I'd go work for him on the weekends or summers, he was like, on me, But the beauty of that was he taught me so much about cars. He was like, you see that? That's wrong. That's good. That's not good. That's cool. Now, my connection to you guys was actually, I would say, down the street, Lake Park, Renntech was very new at the time.
Yes.
This is 91 to 97. They had just moved to that location, which was I'd say their most famous location, obviously besides now.
Yeah.
And what was funny is I'd be washing a car outside or I'd be working on a car and I'd hear this V8 engine roar by and I'd run outside and my dad would be like, what are you doing? And to me, the era of tuning cars was so big to me. The Road and Track magazines, all those magazines where I'd get to see, a wide body CLK or these CL, the SL 72s and all these cars were everything. And what was so cool at the time was I got to see a lot of unique things, and not just from a car point of view, but his clients.
Yeah.
And I met nightclub owners. I met guys that God only knows what they were doing.
On the fringes, right? Yeah, guys on the fringe.
Probably wasn't legal. But I got to meet all these characters, and I think that's actually what makes me successful today.
Yeah.
was I was a quiet kid. I was a little nerdy. But I would see these guys that were influential people. They'd made a lot of money, and it was inspirational to me. Like, oh, that's possible. Like, oh wow, I can actually make that life.
Yes.
And while I respected mechanics and I actually love working on cars, I was like, man, I want to think big and like I want to do something completely out of the box. Because I would see these guys come in, and it was inspiring.
Right.
Like, I'll never forget. There was this guy actually from the Middle East, and he dropped off this is like embedded into my mind. He dropped off a Ferrari 512M and a Bentley Continental T. They were both red on white or red on tan.
Sick.
And he told my dad, yeah, go pick up your son in the Bentley. And my dad, I'll never forget this. He picked me up from middle school. My dad was servicing his Bentley, and it was LL Cool J. It had just come out. 1995, it was Who Do You Love? Who Do You Love remix. And bro, in my head, I'm like, man, this has to be me one day driving a Bentley like that.
I love that.
So,
that's great.
So I was obviously, I think a big part of my culture was being inspired by that time, the characters that own the cars. And listen, you didn't see cars like you do now. Like leasing and financing has made Lamborghinis, Ferraris, AMGs. I mean, you see them everywhere. Like everywhere you go, it's accessible.
There are jokes about guys having the group Lambo where like 3 or 4 guys will pay the financing just to
100%.
ride around, you know?
Back then, anybody buying one of those cars, especially a Gemballa, especially these cars were $200,000-300,000 in the 80s and early 90s, you were somebody special. Like you were either an athlete, you were a celebrity, you had built a business, you were a drug dealer, you were, whatever it may be.
Or something like that,
exactly. And so when you saw a car back then, it was completely insane. And maybe, I don't know if you have a question about the future of collecting, but one of the reasons why I'm so excited about the future is when I was growing up, we'd go to a gas station, and it could be an AMG or a whatever it is, and no one knew what it was. Like you'd pull up with an F50 and people would be like, what is that? Today, you have kids, because of video games, YouTube, what they're watching now, that know these cars well. I mean, you have a car show, there's 800 kids outside, spotters wanting to take photos. So I think the culture is so different from what it was in the 80s, in the 90s, especially in South Florida, even though there was a lot of wealth here. But that's really how I started. I was blessed to have that background, fall in love with the cars.
And is it true you would see actually Hartmut driving some cars sometimes?
Dude, all the time.
That's crazy.
All the time. I'll tell you a funny story. I had an opportunity. I worked for my dad every summer. I worked for my dad every weekend. Whatever it may be. I never did like a full service myself. The biggest jobs I think I ever did was take an exhaust off and stuff like that. But everything around the shop, cleaning cars, sweeping the floors. And my dad told me he'd pay me with a car when I turned 16.
Wow.
So, man, in my head, I was like, what am I going to get? And honestly, it was all AMG cars in my head, because I was enamored by, you always want what you don't have. I was enamored by Renntech, up and down the street.
You grew up with a Miura in your garage?
Yes. There was and it's still around to this day, a narrow body, 6-liter SEC, white on red, can red interior. It was a 4-cam car, which I didn't understand about too much being, 16 years old. And it was for sale. It was a low mileage car.
The look was good.
The look was and it's funny, my mom, when she heard I liked the look, she's like, what do you want to be, a drug dealer? And I'm like, no, but the look is the vibe. I mean, it's the whole, and it had the chrome 3-piece wheels. The car it was sick. And I wanted it so bad, and it was for sale for like $21,000, which if you added up all the summers I worked and everything, I was in that range. Like it was possible. And my dad's not a rich guy. He wasn't a rich guy. He works very hard for what he has. He bought his Miura new. He put it away. Like he really worked hard. So it was still a lot of money, but he was like, okay, at least if I buy this, it's a good investment. So he loved the car. He thought it was cool. We went for a ride in it, and then he called Hartmut. And Hartmut was his neighbor, and he's like, Hartmut, what do you think about this car? And Hartmut's like, oh my God, your 16-year-old kid, he's gonna either kill himself or blow the engine. So Hartmut kiboshed it for me.
Killed it.
I didn't end up with the AMG, but what I did, you know what's wild? What I did end up with, and I'll never forget this, and it actually got taken away from me. This is a funny story. A Glacier White. It was only a 1 year, because they then went to Alabaster White. So it was a 01 CLK 430.
Oh yeah.
AMG kit, black interior, and it was more money than the SEC. I had it for about a month, and then I got a speeding ticket. And then my dad sold it, and he's like, that's it, that's a wrap.
You're done.
That's it, you're done.
Wow.
So I've always had this fascination with the CLK, that body, that gen.
Gorgeous car.
Gorgeous car.
Crazy. So tell us, if you don't mind, tell us a little more about your dad.
Dude.
So how did he get the Miura? Tell us about this.
So it's the most incredible story. My grandfather was born in Syria, left Syria as a young guy.
Lebanese, we're neighbors.
Exactly. We're cousins. We're cousins. And ended up, he was from Kessab, Syria, ended up in Marseille, France.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he started working on trucks and driving trucks and doing all these things.
Cool.
And like many people at the time, in the late 50s, he wanted to come to the U.S., immigrated to the U.S., and he was, listen, they moved to this little efficiency. They came with $500, and my grandfather just worked like 4 jobs. Fast forward, he was working at a gas station, ended up somehow buying or acquiring this gas station, which was a little, let's say, 3-bay.
Yep.
You know,
they used to be smaller back then. You bring 1, 2 cars, and you also be the mechanic too at the gas station.
Correct.
Was it in Florida?
It was in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Okay,
it's still there. I've actually gone back to see it.
You guys started in Massachusetts.
Started in Massachusetts, and he was just a hardworking guy. And in his mind, he said, "Okay, I'm only going to work on foreign cars." So back then, there was no one that.
That was the end. No one did that. Everyone was American cars back then. Because coming out of World War II, it was all American cars, and guys who are doing foreign cars were classic collectors, right? Those are collectors.
Exactly.
What year was this?
This was 1958 to 61 was when he started. Dude, back then, you'd see him with a Jaguar D-Type, old Rolls Royces, old Ferraris.
Crazy.
And he became known as this incredible guy. Now, my grandfather was not a car guy. He was a salt of the earth, hardworking guy, had seen the worst part of life, and just wanted to do the best for his family. So fast forward, my dad, this is 1967. My grandfather actually bought a 250 GTO.
Wow.
It was like $6,800. He bought it to sell it. He sold it for $8,800. Thought he made a killing.
Man.
And you couldn't, God rest his soul, he's in my heart forever. You could not talk to him about the car up until he died.
He was sick about it. Oh my God.
But here's where it gets cool. He told my dad, he's like, you know, this is the story of the American dream, because he came here with nothing. You know, they ended up buying a beautiful house in one of the best neighborhoods. It was called Long Meadow in Springfield.
Nice.
So here's these Armenian immigrants rolling up,
exactly.
like, you know, and
there goes the neighborhood.
There goes the neighborhood, and 100%.
I've been there.
And
I get it.
he wanted my dad to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Of course.
You're not going to be a mechanic.
All of us, same problem.
My dad was like, no.
Same thing.
This is my dream. I want to rebuild engines. So my grandfather said, okay, kid, good luck. Go rebuild that engine. My dad was like 13 or 14, something like that.
What?
He rebuilds the engine. My grandfather's looking at it and he goes, holy shit, this kid's better than me. Like, he really has this knack.
Yeah.
So my dad's like this weird engineering mind, and he understands things, he learns quick, and has this incredible ability to, I would say, problem solve, which you guys know with old cars is everything. So my grandfather said, listen, you gotta go to college, you gotta do this. My dad said, no, I wanna work on these cars. So he said, at least finish high school, get straight A's. He says, if you get straight A's, I'll buy you a car. My dad says, I want an old Lamborghini Miura. And they were like used at that point. They were 3 or 4 years old. So my grandfather's like, amazing soul. He didn't care about money at all. For his kids, he did anything.
Yeah.
So I think his first Miura he bought, my dad was in high school.
Wow.
It was $6,000 or $7,000, which was like $25,000 to $30,000 back then.
Yeah.
It was still, listen, it was still a lot of money as an immigrant.
A lot of money, yeah.
But that was my grandfather's heart. He was very giving. And my dad was driving a Miura to high school.
That's amazing.
So working on his car. So he ended up buying a Miura, selling a Miura, buying a Miura, and he was making like $1,000 a car, which was great money back then.
And by the way, back then, all the kids in the Chevelles and all the American cars probably were like,
freaking
what is this?
out.
What is
No,
going on? This is
they
crazy.
actually, so the school actually wrote a newspaper article about him.
Oh my God.
Of driving a
too good.
Miura, who drives a Lamborghini Miura to high school.
That's awesome.
So he fell in love with those cars, started working on them more, became like the go-to guy for that era of Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And then it was 1972. He was every year he would go to the New York Auto Show. And he went to the New York Auto Show and he sees a black Lamborghini Miura SV sitting there with this orange interior, like tan interior. And he's got, now it's the 70s, he was a cool guy. He had high shoes, jeans, you know, long
little
hair,
flare
leather
on his
jacket,
jeans, something like that,
100%.
Flag already going.
And he walks up to the distributor at the time and he's like, I want this car. And they're like laughing. They're like, kid, get out of here. He's like, no, I'm going to buy it. They're like, what are you, like mafia? And he's like, no, I want to buy it. I'm a hardworking guy. So he goes somewhere, he makes a phone call. He convinces a guy, hey, you buy my Miura. So he sells his Miura, which was an S at the time.
Right.
which is a crazy story because I just found his old Miura S,
Oh, wow.
which is insane.
Love it.
By accident. He sells his Miura S. He had some savings. He gets the cash. Meanwhile, my grandfather's in the hospital. He had broke his back. And he's like, where's my son? Like, he's got to pick me up. And my dad's at the New York Auto Show buying a Lamborghini Miura
Oh my
SV.
God.
How much were they at that point?
So it was $19,000 asking, but he negotiated it down because it was the fuel crisis.
Yeah.
It was a terrible time in the U.S. Everyone thought he was crazy. They were like, what are you doing buying this new Lamborghini?
Gas guzzler right
yeah,
now.
you're out of your mind. He goes, picks up my grandfather from the hospital in the car.
Oh my
And
God.
my grandfather's like, are you nuts? Like, what did you do? And it was
If your back
weird
wasn't
because-
broken before, try getting in this
Yeah.
Miura now. Right?
So imagine back then, my dad had this weird, who knows, gut. Him and his friend took an old Cadillac Eldorado and they went to the Lamborghini dealer and they bought all the parts.
Wow.
Wheels, tires, anything he could. I
Wow.
want all the parts. And they're like, why do you want this shit? He goes, don't worry. So 1972, he drove the car for a year or two and then he put it away.
Wow.
And I've seen it outside once in my life. I've never sat in it. I've never driven it. His life is around that car.
Where is it
like,
now?
it's sitting in, he lives with the car. It sits in a warehouse that
He lives with it.
He
I
lives
love
with
that.
it.
He lives with it.
How far from here?
It's about an hour from here.
Nice.
And he's in love with that car. That is his life. And he's dedicated his life to preserving the car.
That's
The
awesome.
parts, the memorabilia. He probably has one of the best parts collections for Lamborghini.
amazing.
He doesn't even sell it. He doesn't care about money. He is just a humble guy
True, passionate collector.
And you know what?
Yeah.
It's not even like no one for years that car was worthless. So it was never about the money. It was about the passion. And that's I took that and I ran with it with
Listen.
Curated.
So your dad was driving Lamborghinis to high school.
Yes.
Before you were even created.
Yes.
And then of course you become who you become. It's only fitting. It's only right. And we see the passion is real. We see
Thank
where
you,
it's
man.
from. Now.
Thank you.
You grew up like you were just saying about around these supercars. What role, other than those rare AMGs and stuff, what role did Mercedes play in general in Miami? Like what
It
was the status of a Mercedes?
Well, I think. Listen, you were anybody that had like an AMG or Renntech car. Like to me, that was it. That was
Right.
that was, back then because you didn't see those cars. It was like, wow, who's that guy? Is it like
And people would know on the street that's a different type of car.
100%?
because that was custom made.
Yeah.
See, these
It was
other
custom and it
Lamborghinis
was
were
so
very rare, but they were
different.
coming out of
Yes.
somewhere.
And I would say then, like, I could go down a list of people like you had, we knew Sylvester Stallone's family had an AMG
Yeah.
and they had it in the area at some points. We knew Ken Griffey Jr. had his CLKs and his AMGs back then. So like, I could tell you the Feingold family, Mr. Feingold, had all his AMGs in Palm Beach. Like, if anybody had an AMG, you knew who it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it had that kind of status, and I'll never forget, my dad brought home, and forget AMG, it was just a early SL600 that a very famous CEO special ordered, and it was 129 car, I'll never forget it, silver black, and he had ordered it not with an engine because you couldn't in the US at the time, but with the full wheels and the ground
Sport kit
effects and
on and
everything.
everything, yeah.
And even that car was like a big
Oh, yeah.
deal
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
then. Just growing up and seeing all the Renntech cars drive by and
Yeah.
seeing that culture. I used to have the opportunity to go visit Renntech, and it's funny, my dad's painter used to build a lot of the wide bodies and paint a lot of the
wow.
Renntech cars.
Nice.
So like I saw a lot of the cars in production as well.
Wow.
The whole reason that I ended up, I think, getting into AMGs, starting Curated, was it brought me back to a moment of like this pure happiness as a kid.
Nostalgia.
And nostalgia's everything. And I think
Correct.
the song, the music, I
smell.
hope that the smell is
Oh, yeah.
everything.
So important.
Right?
Smell's more
Yo,
important
you just
than-
nailed it.
Trust
You
me.
nailed it.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's everything. So like, to me, like every day, and I'm sure you guys feel the same, it's just a blessing to be around
It is a
this stuff
blessing.
and doing
It is a
it.
blessing. So we know you talked about AMG, we talked about Renntech, and there are a bunch of other tuners, of course.
Yeah, of course.
You saw a bunch in the collection
Yeah.
here. A few crossover from Mercedes into other brands and some of the
Yes.
ones that you kind of deal in
Yes.
more. Maybe talk to us a little bit about things like Koenig, Gemballa, and kind of the crossover brands. I mean, let's maybe start with Koenig Special, one that we really collected a lot. How does that kind of spill over into other non-Mercedes cars, and what does that market look like?
Well, I think today, listen, for me, I've had the opportunity to have some really cool Koenig Ferraris. I got into a famous bidding war over a Koenig Testarossa that I had saw. It was at Gooding & Co. auction, and you see this car with those wide BBS chrome wheels, and what was cool, the big wing, the body kit, and what was cool, it was actually ordered by a wood maker, like a wood company, a famous CEO of a wood company out of California, and he kept every communication with Willie Koenig.
Oh, wow.
The documents and everything. And I was like, man, most of those cars were owned by such wild people back then, they didn't keep documents.
Yeah.
I got in a bidding war over that car, and listen, I ended up, I think that's, you know, a good Koenig Testarossa today is a $500,000 car. It's a $500,000 car. And I think we're just at the precipice of seeing special tuning cars be understood as coach-built cars, as $1 million cars, plus, you know, now we're seeing roof Yellowbirds
going crazy.
Sell for $5 million.
Yeah.
We're seeing AMG Hammers sell for $1 million plus. And I think it's because, again, the nostalgia, the magazine, what it meant to you at the time. And listen, there's not enough of them.
Yeah, no.
They're so rare.
I think for a while there was like, you have different variables in collecting, right? It'd be mileage, color, maybe build, you have ownership history, but now there's another one which has now become tuning and customization, right? 100%. And that one opens up a limitless potential in the market.
Limitless. And I think, you know what, I got in an argument with somebody recently. We have a tuning car right now, and it's not even necessarily a tuning car. It was a car that a guy bought a Ferrari 288 GTO, and he brought it to Michelotto, their race partner, and he had it customized. Somebody was like, oh, well, you know, like, how much more is it worth? And I was like, okay. You go back to muscle cars from the 60s, and a Coppo Camaro, which was an American tuning company, is worth 10x what a regular Camaro is. So I think we have to look backwards to then look forward. And I just think there's something so special about a generation. And listen, I'm in love. You know, the Koenig Specials Testarossas, I'm in love with because they represent the ultimate excessiveness.
Yep.
In 1989, if you were the man, okay, you were buying a Countach, you were buying a Ferrari Koenig, you were buying Gemballa, and you were buying an AMG, or, you know, like, that's what you were buying. And I think certain cars represent the ultimate, like the Gemballa Avalanche, and why I love those cars.
Oh, we love them.
I've always dreamed of a Gemballa SEC, like, I just think they represent the ultimate, and I mean, it's so cool here today to see everything you have, things that I didn't even know existed.
Right.
And to see the engineering that went into these cars, the development, like, and I hate when people don't understand, like, how much engineering and technology back then went into these cars.
And we've seen a Gemballa SEC at your place recently. I keep track of everything. But tell me something. So you're saying you grew up in Miami, you see all these cars. How often would you see a Koenig Special Mercedes?
Never. And that was because, again, like, these things are so rare. And again, they were so expensive. If you do a math conversion and you say, okay, 200, 300 grand, in 1985, you put it in ChatGPT, it'll say 500, 600,000, but it's way more than that. And here's what I'll tell you why.
Well,
yes, because back then, people today look at cars as assets. It's a different thing. They finance things.
The money too is totally different now.
It's totally different. Back then, in my opinion, that's like $1 million, $2 million.
I agree.
All that being said, what was your first Mercedes that you ever owned?
It was that CLK.
CLK
430.
Yes.
And that was like, at the time, I would have loved, you're gonna laugh, when they came out with that CL, that body style to me was stunning. Couldn't afford that, obviously. But it was CLK 430. And then later on with Curated, we had the opportunity to buy back-to-back, which I didn't even realize till now, both of the Westmont prototype AMG Hammers.
Wow.
I screwed up bad on one of those.
But you let out the door, man. You let out the door well.
It was funny. I went to my wife and I was like, man, listen, I was like, I know you're pregnant right now. And I'd convinced her to let me buy a Diablo. Okay. We didn't own a house yet. We lived in an apartment.
Okay. So before the house, she let you buy a Diablo.
This is real talk.
She's up for a sainthood already.
She's a gangster.
Wow, it's amazing.
This is right as Curated started.
Wow.
I took a loan out. She was like, hey, you know, she was pregnant. She was like 6 months pregnant too. She was not like a month pregnant. And she was like, hey, we should really think about buying an apartment or something. And I was like, I got a better idea. And this Diablo SE30 Yoda came in, and I was like, man, I don't think I'll ever have the chance to buy one of these again. So I took a loan out and I bought it, and she let me. She was like, I trust you. Like, I know what you know what you're doing.
Ride or die.
So ride or die. So 30 days later,
she believed in you,
comes
man.
in
That's amazing. Wow.
a silver AMG Hammer, which was the prototype.
Oh, the prototype car, yeah.
And we bought it for nothing. It was like 150 grand at the time. And I asked her again. I was like, I know you're gonna be pissed, but just trust me on this.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to buy that and put it away. And she came by, and before the restoration, that car was really rough. She saw it and she was like, I'm like, man, this sale ain't working.
Your salesmanship, you couldn't do that sale. Couldn't close that sale.
But it was cheap enough at the time where I could have taken another loan and swung it.
Yeah.
And look, that's $1 million plus car today.
For how much? 20 grand at the time?
120 grand. It was like nothing. It was nothing.
It's one of those things you look back and you could always kind of go crazy with and beat yourself up on. We know also that you've recently acquired and really found some great cars people out there in the market. And one of the most remarkable ones you brought to market and to head, I don't even not to market, but to brought to the U.S. was that Lotec 1000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you saw a couple more consumer-friendly Lotecs here today, and then some other weird ones too. Can you tell us the story a little bit behind that car, and then why that's such an important car in terms of what you've, in your career, and then also to Mercedes history as well?
Yeah, well, I think, and it's apparent here today, I don't think the world understands how passionate in the Middle East the car culture was and is.
Correct.
And way ahead of the rest of the world. Like I always tell people, I think the car culture was strongest in the Middle East and Japan in the 80s, 90s. It made the Americans look like, we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. And, the Lotec was first shown as a concept at the Frankfurt Auto Show. It was basically a Group C racing car for the road. It was priced at $3 million then, which is completely insane.
What year? What year?
It was first shown, I think, in 91. It was Frankfurt or Geneva.
So futuristic.
So
$3 million in 91 is crazy.
It looks so futuristic
Crazy
today.
Yes. And you had Sheikh Maktoum of the Dubai royal family. And what's wild is this story I found out after through friends out of the Middle East. There was some coffee shop where everyone would go to on Sundays or Saturdays, and they'd bring like their F40, their 959.
Main road down there.
Yes.
Yeah, I know the road you're
And
talking about.
Sheikh Maktoum would go, and he always felt like someone was outnumbering. Like it was like, oh man, he's got an F40 now. I'm going to show him. And he went to Kurt Loderschmidt, who led Lotec, and he's like, you need to make this the world's fastest car. I want it to be the highest horsepower. Superlative after superlative.
Right.
And that was the concept, 268 miles per hour, 1,000 horsepower. That was why it was called the C1000. And obviously powered by V8, Mercedes, power. And listen, I don't think, until you see the car in person, until you understand it, I mean, that's the ultimate expression of early 90s excess and Mercedes.
100%.
You've got the twin turbo V8, similar to the Sauber Mercedes race cars. That's the concept. And you have this Saudi royal saying, build me something insane.
Limitless.
Yeah. Completely.
That's what Patina's based on, basically.
Exactly.
That whole concept.
And I think the car community doesn't understand it too much because there's so much still hiding away.
So much.
And you guys have done an amazing job of showing these things and exposing, and even teaching me, which is, epic. And I think it's so wild to think, when I explain that car, I'm like, listen, this is one person and a very small tuning company saying we want to shock the automotive world.
And they did it.
And they did it.
Yeah.
Still shocking today.
It's still shocking. And I think, what a beautiful story. It's funny, when I first sold the car to a very good friend and client, I told him, I said, listen, one day we're going to get this car, people are going to freak out, and we're going to show it at Pebble Beach, and watch, it's going to do big things.
Wow.
And that exactly happened. It was like, thank you.
You talked about manifestation
Yes,
earlier. That's exactly, you put it out there. And
put it out there, made it happen. And listen, what was wild was, for years, people gave me a hard time about the car. And then what was so cool is Mercedes-Benz started to recognize it. They started posting on Instagram. They started talking about it.
The museum, I think, even posted things,
yes. And I think, again, that's such a piece of Mercedes history of just this excessiveness. I mean, you think of Mercedes in general, and AMG and HWO and all these things. I mean, listen, they were dominating racing, luxury cars. Mercedes is such an important brand, and that car is just so special.
So speaking earlier about your story with your wife being pregnant, Curated was just getting started.
Yes.
Tell us how Curated started and the whole mission behind it.
Man, it was tough. I owned a struggling rental car company. I mean, we were a big brand. People knew who we were, but financially we couldn't make ends meet.
It's a brutal business.
So you guys started out as an exotic car dealer.
Exotic car rental. Yeah. Back a little bit behind that, I started off promoting exotic car events. I used to do this big supercar show back when there weren't a lot of car shows. I met a lot of people. That was a failure. I lost a lot of money. Rental car business, that was a failure. Lost a lot of money. And in that process, I met my co-founder, Jordi Ricart, and he was the exact opposite of me. I've always been sort of like black sheep, jeans, t-shirt, sneakers, sounds like we get along. And he was blue blazer, khaki pants,
right.
and he was like, hey, let me help you. Do what you love and let me help you. And it was funny. When he first came into the rental car business, that was the first year we started making a little money. And what did I do? The second I made a little money, I went out, I took a loan, and I went and bought an old 355 Challenge race car, Ferrari race car. Nice. It was 48,000 or 38,000. I restored it, and I sold it, and I made like 30 grand, 40 grand. And he was like, how did you do that? And I'm like, no, I really believe in these 90s cars and this next generation of cars.
At that point, what was it like, the market?
Market was dead for these cars. Like people did not care. You could buy.
What year?
It was about 12, 13 years ago.
Okay, and you could buy what exactly?
You could buy a Countach for 200 grand. You could buy an F40 for 500 grand. You could buy an F50 for $1 million.
Give them perspective on
okay, F50 just sold for 9 million. F40 just sold for 4 million. The best of the best Countach is $1 million. And no one cared. And I was like, this is the future. And people told me I was nuts. I mean, I can't tell you. I think the greatest part of whatever our success is today is a little bit of vindication.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, you know, like I believed in it and I felt they were the underdogs. I felt these cars were the underdogs. Like this car was the underdog. And I've always felt like a little bit of the underdog, you know, story.
Correct.
But you got to create the market then yourself. You had to like you do, you educate people, bring it out there, show them why it's important.
And we started with nothing. Jordy went to friends and family to raise money, one car at a time.
Wow.
And that's how we started. It was like his good friend of his in Spain lent us 200 grand. We bought a Countach, we sold it. So it was one at a time. And then I really realized like, wow, this is my calling. This is what I love. This is what I believe in. And it wasn't even about, I would say, making money. It just made me feel great.
Yeah. I think that's one of the great things about this country. And we'll just talk, you can do something and fail 2, 3, multiple times. But here you always got a chance to come back and make it happen. 100%. And that's what's so amazing about America. And I love that story.
You just said it. It is. It's the American dream.
Yeah. And what turned from being a struggling rental company to where you are today?
So, crazy story. A guy was trying to mentor us. Big parking mogul. And he knew nothing about cars. He met us at an Art Basel event. And he's like, wow, you two guys are crazy. Like, if I can ever help you, that's what he said.
Yeah.
What were you doing at the event?
So we had Mr. Brainwash, the famous painter, actually throwing paint at a Maserati, a rental car.
This is important.
Yeah, it is. So we did this Art Basel event, and it was Mr. Brainwash. And listen, it was one of those things where if you just believe it, things come together. And I'm one of those guys that I've always had this crazy like imagination. I'm sure like you guys to say, listen, we're gonna do this thing, and it's gonna be big.
Yeah.
And we ended up partnering with Pininfarina. They had just come to the U.S. They helped us get Mr. Brainwash. We got Mr. Brainwash, and we organized this Art Basel event where he was going to paint a car. And this was the talk of Art Basel. It was surreal to even meet him at the time, have this event. And this guy walks in, Alan Lazowski, and he's like, what is this event? And he asks us how we did it. And we told him, we don't even know. Like, we were just dreaming about it.
Shoestrings and dreams, man.
And he's like, man, you guys are cool. Like, let me help you guys.
Wow.
So he was just helping us as a mentor. He's like, you need to sell the rental car business. You need to focus on this vintage car business. I like that business.
Right.
And you need to go get bank loans and do this. And he was trying to help us.
Amazing.
Ends up, we couldn't sell the rental car business. We kept losing money. It was too much of a headache. And he came in one day, and I'll never forget this. The night before he called us, it was like a Thursday afternoon. I'm on eBay, and I was always looking for cars. And there was this weird ad for a Lamborghini Miura. And there was no pictures of the car. It was this weird description that looked wrong.
We've been there before.
But it was a 4-digit number on the chassis.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
And growing up, I studied VIN numbers because of my dad. I studied Miura VIN numbers, and I knew, wow, that's a Miura S VIN number. It's a 4-digit chassis number. They're even numbers. They start with a 4. They start with a...
It wasn't advertised as...
The guy wasn't presenting it right.
He was presenting as a Miura SS.
It was the best.
Didn't make sense.
Yeah.
The best.
That's the best.
So I save the ad, I send him a message, ends up the ad gets taken down, but he sends me a message back and he's like, call me on this number or whatever. It sounded like a scam. He's like, my boss got into a margin call. He's owned this car since 1971. It's sitting in a barn. And he goes, I swear I'll get you pictures, but I need $50,000 ASAP. So I'm like, man, you're asking way too much if the car's in a barn. I don't have photos at this point. I go, how about this? How bad does your boss need the money? He goes, he needs it in 2 weeks. I go, okay, I'm gonna give you $800,000 or $850,000, which I didn't have. I didn't have $1. I'll get you a $50K deposit and let's sign a contract. So I get the contract ready. I do it myself. This is back in the day. Put on Word. Okay, he sends me photos and it's a real Lamborghini Miura and it's in a barn. And I'm like,
That's it.
Signs the contract, and I'm like, dude, I hit the lotto. I'm like, we found gold. So I run to Jordy, and I'm like, bro, look what I got. And he's like, are you nuts? Like, we don't even have the deposit money, let alone the money for the car. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, no, bro, watch. We're gonna make at least $100,000. Jordy was ready to book a ticket back home to Spain. He had no money in his bank account.
God.
He was gonna call his dad for a plane ticket. And guess what? This guy, Alan Wazowski, calls us if we want to go for dinner. He's like, I'm in Miami. I haven't seen you guys in like 6 months. Let's go for dinner.
It was destiny. It was meant to be, dude.
So we go to dinner at this place called Mandolin in Miami, and he's like, how's the rent-a-car business? We're like, horrible. We have no money.
But.
And he's like, how's your other business? And Jordy's like, yeah, this idiot signed a bill of sale. We don't even have the money. And he's laughing. Alan's laughing, and he's like, what bill of sale? So I tell him the story. He's like, man, you guys are crazy. And he's like, but I love your spirit. I love that, like, you're gonna do it. So he goes in his book bag, he takes out a checkbook. And I'm like, how's this guy doing? Writes a check for $50,000, and he hands it to us, and he's like, all right, here you guys, go put a deposit on the car. Points to me, he's like, you go try to sell the car, and he points to Jordan, he's like, you go raise the rest of the money. And he's like, did you read what was on the check? And he's like, we're like, what? It says, curated, and then 50,000. He's like, no, read the bottom. And it said, pay it forward. And we're like, what do you mean? And he's like, listen, I don't want the 50K back.
Oh my God.
I want you guys to believe in yourselves. Go figure this out. And one day, when you have the opportunity to help someone else, you do it.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
We're sobbing. We're like crying.
Wow. Yeah. I want to cry.
So we bought the car. Jordy raised the money, and we ended up selling it for like 1.2 million.
Congratulations.
Wow.
And that was the start. That was when we realized, okay. So like we bootstrapped it for another year, and then Alan really taught us, like, he's like, hey, get tight financials, go to a bank, show them your financials, boom, go raise money from a bank. Boom, we got a little floor plan. Then we got a bigger floor plan. And it was really the Jordy keeping tight financials and me just allowing me to just do what I loved.
Be creative.
And listen, 5 years later, we had a real thing. And then fast forward today, we're on our 10-year anniversary today, and it's
Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
And like we said earlier in the
Thank you.
interview that, I was watching, Daniel, he can speak for himself, but I was watching Curated early on. What made you want to do the YouTube? Because what I liked about watching your YouTube channel is you weren't trying to sell me anything. Yes, you did have cars for sale.
Yeah.
It was never about that.
Thank you.
It was always about the passion, the story, and how much you're obsessed with these cars, right? So what made you want to do the YouTube channel?
So I have to be honest, and I don't think I've ever actually told this to anyone. It was Jordy, because what we realized was that I'm 41 now. Imagine at the time I was 30, so I was really young.
Right.
And he's like, man, I don't think people realize that you're not some punk kid in Miami dealing in Lamborghinis.
Right.
And that was the perception, like, oh, here's some kid.
Because it's easy to get lost in that Miami, especially back then.
Back then,
it was like,
no, it was a different world. It was
reviews on everything.
Yes.
It was kind of in the shot in the dark,
And he's like, people need to know, like, your heart and why you do this and your knowledge.
Authenticity behind
Yes.
it. Yes.
And I didn't, honestly, I was like, no one's going to care. I was like,
he was right. He was right.
right.
I've seen it.
He was right.
And it was
Thank you.
definitely an inspiration to do
Thank
what
you.
we did.
Thank you.
because it's easy, especially to be someone out there flipping cars and have the whole thing, and it sounds good in a business card. People fall in love with the idea of it rather than doing it and well.
And it's so funny because what you guys have done is sort of mimics what I always believed was like you just buy what you love.
Yes.
And for years, we didn't do a lot of deals. We left money on the table because I would only buy what I loved, and people thought we were, excuse my language, nuts. Like, I had investors.
Why my old Italian box or something that's gonna.
They were like, "Why are you just focused on that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but that's what I love." And I think once the consumer saw that, that's when we became a brand that we are today.
I think it also lowers the fear too, right? Because people see you with the cars, and then they're like, "This is something investable. I can trust it. I can drive it. I can't be afraid." Because if you told someone before the internet, before you doing it, hey, buy a Lamborghini and trust that you could keep it and use a vintage Lamborghini. That's the scariest thing to someone.
The scariest thing in the world. And I knew that, and I knew I was going to have to educate a lot.
Yeah, but that also raised the prices because it made people buy with confidence.
Yes.
And it created the market, which is also what we did.
100%.
But what, like you said, we did what we wanted, and you did what you wanted. Your vision was curated, just like the name.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I would say you guys made me imagine, and I bleed cars.
Yeah.
you guys made me interested in believe in cars that when we were first talking, there was a few cars I was like, I don't know about those, man. It's not my thing.
I remember, I still have the DM. So talking about that, how did you feel? What did you think when you first heard about the Patina Collective?
I was so confused
And how did you hear about it, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I mean, listen, I started following you guys on Instagram, and I was just like, what are these guys doing? Like, this is like crazy.
Yeah.
And you guys went down such a rabbit hole when these things were literally like, first off, let's face it, you guys started what, 7 years ago?
No, 2021.
Crazy.
December
So
2021.
5 years ago, let's say 5 years ago, 80s, 90s cars were obscure. Hammers were 100 grand, 200 grand. People didn't really care. And you didn't just go down a rabbit hole, you went down deep dive. So honestly, from an outside perspective, I thought you guys were crazy.
Yeah,
Like I was like, man, like, I think I'm crazy. They're real crazy. Like you guys really did a whole different deep dive. But it's the forward thinkers. Like when you're thinking 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, that's where you really like shake things up. And that's like, honestly, look, we're laughing about one of the Hammer engines over there, like on the crate.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know if you paid at the time or whatever, but like, you know, you discover one of these cars is a real AMG and it's like hitting the lotto ticket.
Oh, yes, 100%.
And I think what you guys have done for the recognition of brands like SGS, brands like Koenig, here's what's interesting. You've made a market. You've increased the value, but it was from purity because you like these things.
Did from the heart.
You did it from the heart. You liked these things when they were almost worthless.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of my dad's story. He liked Miras when they were worthless.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the beauty of my story is like, I liked all this weird stuff when it was
We
worthless.
see each other in each other.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's
I love
pure. And I think there's something about one of the reasons why you guys, I mean, listen, I can't post a Mercedes or AMG without getting tagged by you guys. Like, you guys are known, so well known in the community now. What you have built has
We're honored, to be honest.
Thank you.
you should be. It's the cornerstone of the AMG community is here now.
Thank you so much.
But it's because of that raw passion.
100%.
100%. And listen, the fact that people know these cars and what you're continuing to do and educate people, and I think it's insane.
I don't know if you know this, but when we started, you were following Vintage Benz Collector before Patina was invented.
Yes.
And we never revealed our identity. So me or Daniel never showed ourselves. So nobody really knew who was doing it.
Yeah.
What were you thinking? Who do you think it was before?
No idea. No idea. And it was funny because
good.
Steven from our team, who we call AM Genius, okay, was like, yo, there's these guys, they're buying up a bunch of the AMGs. And I was like, who the hell's buying up all the AMGs? Who's doing this? Like, but I mean, look, and listen, I would say that it's funny because I actually see a second shift. So we've bought a lot of cars out of the Middle East and out of Europe and out of Japan because the community there didn't care about these cars anymore.
Correct.
I see there's going to be another shift
They want
where
them back.
yeah.
They already
Yeah,
started.
they're begging for it back. Yeah. And it's got to the point, and you know this from buying in Japan, right? With AMGs, when we first got into it, they're like letting them go. Now they're worried about who they sell them to.
Yes.
And that's how you know the Japanese care about it because that's what matters
Yes.
to them. In terms of what you're seeing in the market right now, we talked about prices changing.
Yeah.
This drive towards hypercars, right? You see cars like Pagani's coming out, crazy numbers, crazy tags. What does the future of that market look like in your opinion? Is that something where you're going to see depreciation? You're going to see, and how much higher can it go than the new price tag on those cars? I mean, that's
Dude,
my question.
I mean, listen, that's an amazing question. You know, think about this. It still is shocking to me that today the new Bugatti is going to be $5 million. And with options, it could be $6 million. And, you know, they're saying they're sold out. And the car's incredible. It's insane. It's the ultimate. But I think here's what is happening. And I saw this in Monterey. You have now 3 generations of wealth. You have the largest generation of wealth shift happening in the history of the world.
Yep.
Trillions of dollars going into people that are in their 20s and 30s. Then you have all the guys that are in their 40s.
Which
Okay.
has never happened before, by the way.
It's never happened before. And they look at assets totally different. They don't look at assets, they're not into real estate and art like their parents and grandparents were, or stocks. They're
Fine
not.
wine, collecting
No.
numbers.
Cars,
none of that.
Cars.
Cars are an experience, cars are a passion. You don't have the same experiential or passion out of the other assets that you do with cars. Then you have the guys in their 40s and 50s that maybe have built a business, maybe have done this or that, whatever it is, that this is their dream. They got the poster on their wall and they're chasing these cars. And then what I saw in Monterey this year, which I was blown away by, is you have the legacy collectors in their 60s, 70s, 80s that are now saying, I got to be relevant with my kids or grandkids, and I got to look out for my assets. So I'm going to go buy an F40 or a Carrera GT, or I'm going to buy an AMG Hammer. I'm going to buy these cars. So you now have the historic collectors saying, I got to get a roof Yellowbird. Yeah. I don't have one in my collection.
Why did I spend $3 million on a Duesenberg that is like no one's caring about right now when I can go buy this relevant car?
So I think we're in a perfect storm over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm not trying to pump up the market. I say that from a pure, I don't think people realize what's going to happen.
We've seen it before historically. Things do shift.
And we've seen the blue chip type of cars already take that hike. But you're saying, from your expertise, and we respect your opinion very deeply here.
Thank you.
You're saying that we've even impacted, from your own mouth, your look at even Koenig Specials. Now tell us the 100%. Appeal, what we think in the future. We think it's going to be very appealing.
It's the coach-built cars. So you go to Pebble Beach today, and on the 18th hole, you're going to see all these different classes with all these wacky cars. You go around, none of the cars are from major manufacturers. They're all coach-built cars.
Correct.
Even the Rolls Royces are bodies
Even the
by.
pre-war stuff, you know,
Correct. All of it. A body by Hooper, a body by.
And
this
let them know
company.
we're talking 1930s, 40s, 50s here. Yeah.
And these are cars that traded for multi-millions and are important collections. The tuning companies of the 80s and 90s are the coach builders of a different generation, and in many ways more extreme, more recognized, more idolized, and
better engineering.
Yes, and
cooler designs.
Listen, they are international because what I said about people out of the Middle East, they want their cars back. You know, ironically, we have someone out of the Middle East that's chasing the Lotec back because they're like, oh, it should be back in the Middle East.
Exactly.
That's what a lot of them say.
And I think you're going to see the car community in Europe, you're going to see the car community in Japan slowly say, oh, wow, we need these things back. We want these things back. And it's an international thing where today I would say pre-war cars are mostly popular in Europe and the US, where this generation cars is global. And I don't think we realize what's actually going to happen. I think what the hypercars are doing at that price point are showing people that, oh, I can put my assets into these cars and they're safe. I can have fun. It's an experience thing. I'm not in love, and I will tell you, I'm not in love with anything hybrid. I don't. I
was going to ask about, is there a future of EV collectibles, but I don't know.
Man, I don't know. I'm, you know, it terrifies me today that if I'm buying a LaFerrari, and I think the LaFerrari is an incredible car, but I'm flipping a coin on $200,000, that battery goes. I don't know if I want to feel that way. You know, like $200,000.
Who's going to take care of it in
money.
30 years?
Correct.
Who's going to be able to do something?
And you know, I think to me the future of this stuff, and it's being shown now in 458 Speciale Apertas in this last generation of supercars. That is the last generation. That is it. I think the hypercars at those price point are opening the doors. There's buyers. There's so much wealth in the world that's saying it's okay to put my money in these things. I'm having fun. They're holding their value. You know, sometimes I'm making money.
It fits in my garage. It's not like you enjoy it.
So
You
I think, and listen, I'm seeing more guys, and we get shit on all the time because we have a lot of low mileage cars. I always tell people you should be using their cars, enjoying your cars. But I see more people today using their cars than ever before. Events, rallies, things like that.
I think that's one of the things that made you be brainwashed all over again by us with the Koenigs is I drove them every day. We drove them to the beach every day. We drove 5 at a time. And that's never been done, I think, since the 80s. Or even then, there was no 5 Koenig. You said you never seen one yourself. So I think bringing them out, putting them in this exotic environment. Especially bringing them from all over the world into one place. Really brought it back. And what's cool as well from learning, because we didn't know this, I don't know if Daniel knew this, but the C1000 being commissioned by an Arab is amazing because it expands on what we were talking about earlier, how we started, me and him, from a passion point where we were just attracted to them naturally, not knowing why. And then we realized later that these are our people that kind of conceptualized a lot of these extreme builds.
100%.
That's so cool. What's your favorite consumer Mercedes
I have
ever?
a bunch. Like, I always find myself looking at 2001 last year of the E55. Was it 01 or 02? I think it was 02, right?
Yeah.
E55. Dude, that car to me, when that car came out.
They have the W211 E55 as well, but you're talking about the 210s?
210s.
Yeah, yes.
Love that car, the styling, the design. Obviously, I mean, for me, I mean, a consumer car is not really an SL60 out of 91, 92. Right. I personally have one. I'm in love with that car. I think it's such a, it's so good. For me, like, I always laugh with you. I'm not a BMW guy, like, at all. Like,
He's going to be accepted into heaven's gates very easily.
I am an AMG guy, and listen, I'm in love with G wagons. I think
Good.
To me, G55. If I could find a G55 Grand Edition like that, what was the first year? 06 in the U.S.
Yeah.
Bro.
I think G55s are probably one of the most slept on Mercedes right now.
Dude, I want one so bad, and I screwed up. I bought one, true story, I bought one with 3,000 original miles. One owner.
Impossible to find.
Impossible to find. Ended up, Jordy kept it, and then Jordy sold it, and I was like, you'll never duplicate this car again. So I love those. The CLK 55, from a consumer model point of view, I mean, all the AMGs. I mean, I saw that S65 you guys have, and the CL65, the blue car.
How much has the AMG market shifted from when you started Curated to also from when Patina started? Because there's two different points.
I mean, listen, I don't think there's ever been a car market that has shifted so much in a short period of time.
Wow.
But I also think people were sleeping so hard because it didn't make sense that a car that shocked the world so much,
it just went away.
Like shock, like we're talking cover of magazine, and then they're so limited, and then it is pretty damn usable.
It made no sense.
And then fast forward, wait, there's a company that produces thousands of cars a year off of this, so which means you have a ton of AMG future collectors, of course. How are these cars nothing? 50 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, 80 grand. So I would say we were probably the first people to take them past 200-300. I think we were chasing some cars at the same time where it was like around that area.
Yeah.
And then
Exploded.
I think the big shift was we were in a bidding war with another gentleman, really passionate guy, on that Hammer coupe on MB Market.
We visited him on the channel.
All right, so we technically...
The cocaine hammer, if you guys...
We won the car, and I was super excited.
Oh, wow.
And then, I don't know if you remember, the auction site went down.
Crashed
And then we had to put a bid behind the scenes.
A blind bid on it,
and
right?
dude, he blew me away. And that was when I was like, oh, snap. I thought I was the only guy paying that much for these cars.
Greg, we had a pretty strong impact on Greg. We're not going to take credit for that, but he's a great friend of ours.
Bro,
and,
amazing guy. He has an incredible collection. And then that's when I was like, whoa, like, okay, these are really moving. And I think it was, you guys are chasing cars, he was chasing cars, and then you had all these other collectors chasing cars.
They're like, wait, we can...
Yes, and then once you guys came in, that's when those cars hit $1 million plus.
When it comes to collecting these cars for us, they're just so rare and unique to coach-built stuff, we never really looked at miles as the main indicator for us, right?
Yes.
So with Mercedes, they're meant to kind of drive forever. Whereas and maybe if it's a comfort thing or an engineering thing, some of the Italian cars, they kind of stay below, 15,000 miles. Even guys say, oh, if it has over 10,000, I don't want to touch it. So maybe can you talk about, miles in this Mercedes collecting world and kind of how it impacts versus spec and uniqueness?
So here's my opinion. Spec and uniqueness is everything today. Listen, if I have a Ferrari 512 TR just sold in blue for $700,000 because it was a one-off blue color on cream interior, a red car would be half the price. A Carrera GT PTS today sells double than a regular silver Carrera GT. So spec is everything today. Yeah. I think I fell over myself over a few cars because of the spec.
Yeah.
That CL back there.
Yeah. You wouldn't even ask the mileage because you see the spec and see the quality.
Irrelevant.
Now I find in some of the blue chip supercar stuff, I have buyers for two different cars. It's, I don't care the mileage. I want it fully restored turnkey. So that's where I'm restoring cars or I'm buying fully restored cars. Or I want a car with no mileage or super low mileage because I don't have to do that work. It's not even a necessary, I will tell you, it's not what the market's necessarily even asking me for. It's what customers are saying, like, hey, part of our success is making things turnkey. I'm either delivering you a restored car or I'm delivering you a low mileage car that's been serviced. So for us, it's always been one of those things where, okay, that's what I'm buying and that's what I'm selling, because there's a home for it today. But I think if someone's really smart, and me personally, I've always said, buy the best variant, the best spec of whatever you can find, and if it has a ton of miles, go restore it yourself. Yeah. Because then you're building a ton of equity and a ton of value. Yeah. And listen, fast forward today, all Miuras have to be restored and should be restored. There's very few preservation cars. So, and the Miuras that bring $2 million more than a regular Miura are the ones with a crazy history, crazy color, crazy story.
Because has 2,000 less miles.
So I think again, spec and history is everything. At the end of the day, when you're collecting, are you willing to invest the time and energy to restore that car or not?
So you saw quite a few cars today, right? And we walked you around. Which is the one you're like, hey, I want to take this one home?
The Renntech CLK car, I might actually offer you guys. I'm not even gonna lie. I have a Renntech CLK car. I'm gonna offer you a trade plus cash because, to me, at 15 years old, that's my dream car. It was the wide body, the black with the black wheels. Like, okay, so that's that. Take that.
Take that off the side.
Take that off the side. I mean, the red CL. The white leather with the logo in the seats, like those little details, the red wood. I mean, again, those special ordered cars. Listen, if we were talking about an F50 or we were talking about any of these cars, the number would be ridiculous. So like that car to me, that's a showpiece. It's stunning. I'm in love with that car. I don't think that's ever gonna leave here, but if it does, right here. The other CL next to it, just because of spec. Look, the purple with the pink and the Picasso interior, out of this world. I love all the Brabus cars because I think Brabus as a brand, I am so impressed. I don't know the Sun. I'm a fan of everything they're doing. I think
we love Brabus.
As a brand, the fashion, the elements, as the future goes, listen, every Brabus car here piqued my interest because I'm like, wow, this is an important brand. People don't realize yet. People know them, but they don't even realize how important they are. So all the Brabus cars
how
blew my
extreme they
mind.
are,
Yes.
You see a bunch you didn't see as well. There's a bunch.
And obviously the BB Magic Top, that's your showpiece. I mean, it's perfect. The colors, everything about it. And I was probably most blown away with the engineering on the SGSs and the concept of him. And I think you've done a beautiful job to honor him.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because
we have
really,
a full documentary coming out on SGS.
And I would say, you know what? I watched your video on the G-Wagon that's at the museum right now.
Yep.
That's a grail piece.
Yeah,
that's a grail piece. It's a grail piece.
So, John, thanks so much for being here today, man. I know we have to continue maybe.
Bro, this was an honor. Thank you, guys.
Back in your home.
Congratulations. Yo, you're coming on our podcast.
Yeah, we're going to do that. So, guys, John Temerian, curated, legendary brand, legendary human. And we're just proud to have him here. Shout out to his father. Shout out to the whole curated team. And, of course, shout out to John. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure. All right, Patina boys, stay up. Catch us on the next episode. We're out of here.